Hello, StarCraft fans! This is Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another weekly edition of StarCraft Brood War. This is a game between Jaedong and Pure on Othello. In the top right side of the map, we have the green Zerg player. It is Jaedong. And in the bottom left side of the map, we have the white Protoss player. It is Pure. Alright, so this is a ZVP for you guys. It's a follow-up from the PVT we had last week. Between Bisu and Flash. This is Jaedong, probably the most famous Zerg player of all time, just because he was so amazing at Brood War and continues to be so. And let's go ahead and get right on into it here. Alright, so let's see if he opens up hatch first or spawning pool first. I'm not entirely sure of the meta in Brood War at this point, but we'll wait and see how many minerals he saves up, and he's supply blocked at this point, but I'm assuming one of these is an Overlord. There we go. Overlord is definitely on the way. Meanwhile, at our Protoss side of things, got a pylon being warped in over here at this potential expansion base for our friend. Let's go ahead and reveal the entire map. There we go. So big old areas that you can fight in if you want. Looks like there are ramps up into them on both the top left and bottom right side of the map. You also have this nice little pathway across the middle, directly leading from your opponent. It looks like it is a spawning pool first here out of Jaedong. So definitely going to go for some early aggression against the Protoss player. And if this is like a Nexus first or something crazy out of Pure, it might not go well for him. Woo! Quick little sneeze, a Rema there. And yeah, the probe scouts on in to see exactly what Jaedong is up to and does see that in fact there's a spawning pool on the way. So no, you don't want to go that Nexus first, but instead going for a forge, possibly for some cannons. I don't know how you defend. I mean, can you wall this off soon and fast enough to stop the Lings from getting here and wrecking your stuff? I suppose it's possible. This spawning pool is not quite done yet, and then you have to actually make some Lings, and then they have to run all the way down here. So I think if Pure is planning on walling this off with some cannons, with some gateways, maybe should be able to pull that off there. Again, one Vespene Geyser on each of the bases here. So no two per base. You have more workers available for minerals, although the AI for the workers is kind of dumb. You'll notice sometimes that a worker will come in and be waiting for a mineral patch to become available, even though there's an open patch right next to them. That's something they do a lot better job in StarCraft 2. And in Brood War, you kind of, if you're really good, right, if you're at this level of StarCraft 2 or StarCraft Brood War, you really have to babysit your drones and your probes and your SCVs. The SCV, this probe is being chased by a Ling here. I don't believe you get that speed bonus on creep. Yeah, I don't see it moving any faster on creep versus off creep at this point. And cannon, Nexus. Alright, so using these cannons, going to try to kill that Overlord. I'm not sure, not going to be able to do it. It's going to get out of the way there very quickly. That forge was available for that stuff. Some Lings just running out helter-skelter, what it seems like, all over the place here. Can they sneak in this way? Ah, looks like they can sneak in that way, but a gateway is coming up to wall that off. A photon cannon here. Look how big that warp-in size is. And where did the Lings go? They're just patrolling around right now. I don't think they're going to try to get anything done. Again, 3 cannons, or 2 cannons is a lot of defense against Lings. Even here in Brood War, cannons are pretty good against Lings. And taking an expansion hatch over here is our friend Jaedong, as well as getting an extractor. Pop! See how quickly he saturates that extractor. Ready, set, go. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 3 as usual. Nothing too weird here compared to the StarCraft 2. He's got a lot of Lings. Jaedong has a lot of Lings for not trying to be aggressive with them whatsoever. He hasn't really even poked around here at all. Has he scouted it? I assume he has scouted it. I don't have any hotkeys for that, though, so we're going to leave that alone for right now. And the Lings are desperately trying to catch this probe, trying to surround it on all angles, but no, Pure sees it. Sees the trap, runs past the Tyrannosaurus heads. Oh, actually flew right back in the middle there of those Lings. Didn't lose that much health. 0 health, actually, just some shield damage there. Lair here at about 4 minutes out of the Jaedong, continuing to make workers. And again, something I said last week, you'll notice when these workers pop, they do not automatically go to mine. So watch this. Nope, sitting there, and then Jaedong grabs them and says, okay, now go to work, is what you have to do. So again, this is a lot more APM intensive. Brood Wars is a lot more about babysitting your stuff. And StarCraft 2 kind of took a lot of that stuff out, which some players are a fan of, obviously. A lot of players play StarCraft 2. A lot of pros doing that as well. But for some players, especially those that were around during Brood War, they feel like StarCraft is a little bit too easy. You don't have to babysit as much. Your APM doesn't have to be as high. And I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, StarCraft 2 can be very difficult Indeed. But, you know, they have their idea about things, and I'm not going to go ahead and say that they're wrong. Spawning pool is there. I'm not sure that Jaedong... Does he have speed? He doesn't have speed for these lings yet. They're still a little bit slow. A little bit slow there. Cannot catch that probe unless some angles are good. Woo, look at that shot from the cannon. That has some good range. Doesn't show us what the range is on that tooltip, unfortunately, but regardless, no harm, no foul there. So 3 bases are up right now for Jaedong. Getting a Hydralisk Den, morphing that in now with the lair. Something's shooting somewhere. Oh, Dragoon's out. Dragoon is trying to kill this Overlord. All right, so the lair's up. We do have, like I said, spawning pool. Hydralisk Den could morph itself into a lurker den at some point here. I'm not sure that lurkers are very good against Protoss, though. I don't remember seeing many lurkers in ZVP when I watched a lot of Brood War. And again, this was back in 2010, I think. It was before StarCraft 2 came out. And there's a Corsair. Ah, Corsair out here. It's anti-air only, but it does splash damage, and it hits pretty hard. It can take out Overlords very quickly. There's one you can kill, but nope. Just flying right on past that. It's guest scouting. Also has a disruption web ability that shuts down static defense, like Spore Crawlers. So it can be pretty handy. Pretty fast fire rate, too. I mean, this Overlord is going to die pretty quickly eventually here. I mean, although a Hydralisk does show up and spit stuff, those are supposed to be spines coming out of its tail, but I never thought it looked or sounded like that. I'm not sure why they call it grooved spines. Corsair decides to come back on in, see what it can do, trying to find another Overlord. This one's pretty healthy, but I think the Corsair just wants to scout. Just checking how many bases there are. There are some Hydras here for defense at the same time. There are some Lings trying to poke on in, but that's a good wall. This is some good map awareness out of Pure. Meanwhile, it's flying around scouting for another base here from Jaedong. 4 bases up here at the 6-minute mark. Wow. Some pretty impressive macro thus far. I wish I had a worker count. I really do. I mean, Pure is pretty well saturated on 2 bases, but compared to 4, that number does not seem very large. It really does not. Aspire is up now. Yeah, I remember a lot of mutas in ZVP. Not sure if they're being egged in here or not at the moment, but there's definitely Aspire. No, it looks like it's mostly just Overlords. That's a Sunken Colony mutating itself into a creep. No, creep colony mutating itself into a Sunken Colony. Does damage against ground units only. I think it does 40 damage. I thought it was 30. 40 damage. Some idle workers here. Get to work. Jaedong's workers. Another Sunken Colony here as well. Is anybody pushing out? I keep thinking this is White Protoss, but it's not. On the minimap, it shows up that way, but it's not the case. Oh, there's a Dark Templar out. I gotta pay more attention to the Protoss here. So DT is out. Trying to see what it can do. Is there any detection down here? There is definitely a creep colony here, but it's not a Spore Crawler yet, so it doesn't have that detection available. Where is that DT? Where did you go? Here it is. Here's the DT. Trying to stay off the creep. And again, a couple evolution chambers morphing in here as well. I think you need that for the Spore. What detected that? Oh, right. Overlords are detectors. Derp, I completely forgot. All Overlords are detectors in Brood War. So that DT does get 5 kills before it's taken out. That's some effectiveness. I'm not going to complain about that if I'm the Protoss player Pure here. Looking to take a 3rd base on up there, if at all possible. And just scouting in with a little quick Overlord, checking out the Citadel of Adun, getting Zealot legs. Just makes them move faster, doesn't actually give them charge. But still, pretty good. Like, Zealots with upgrades are not bad units whatsoever. Corsair still flying around, trying to kill stuff, trying to find stuff to eat, I suppose. Triple upgrades? Yeah, getting melee, ranged, and armor for his ground units. Jaedong got some Scourge here. I'm going to call them Spores. Scourge! These are suicide units, basically. If they explode, if they can touch your flying unit, they will do 110 damage to it. As you can see, they're taking down to 71 hit points. Oh, there are lurkers more in the way. So lurkers here spining against those zealots. Got some Templar available for Storm if they want. The Observer does die. That is bad for Pure. Lurkers again burrowing in. And Storm's pretty good. Yeah, like I said here, Storm is really good in Brood War. You got to dodge that as best you can if you're the Zerg player Jaedong here. So just try to position themselves in a place where the lurkers can actually get damage done. And the Storm doesn't murder them all, is what Jaedong is trying to do. Scourge, once again, in the air, trying to kill Corsairs, trying to kill any Observers that might exist. Because outside of Observers, there's not a way for Pure to figure out what is going on here. And positioning of these burrowed lurkers. Aren't those graphics beautiful? Aren't they just so pretty? Ho, ho, ho. Green Giant. All right, so Jaedong has a nice little Hydra Lurker Scourge army sitting on back here, and our friend Pure has got Dragoons, has got a whole ton of Zealots, +1 attack complete on these guys, have some Templar with Storms available, a lot of energy sitting on these dudes. What else can they do? They just turn into Archons and Storm, and I don't think they have feedback. I don't remember anything like that in Brood War. Do they have Hallucinate? They might have Hallucinate, actually, if I remember correctly, but most people would rather use the energy on Storms instead of that, so there wasn't much of it in the Brood War. Again, as far as I remember, those of you who are still familiar with the meta, feel free to correct me on that. I will not take offense. All right, so these guys are doing a lot of dancing. Let's get in here. Let's get it done. Let's fight. Again, Hydralisk using that Needle Spine ability. It just looks to all the world like they're spitting acid on their opponents. It just does. And I mean, I don't know why it couldn't just be named Acid Spit, because it makes sense. Oh, sniping down that Templar would be good. Oh, they get the Templar. And trying to get a Dragoon as well. Hydra is really, really good against Gateway Tech. Kind of like they are today. Not much of a difference, actually, between StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void, and this Brood War stuff. On that level, anyway. Dragoons, again, are dumb. Their pathing is bad, but they hit pretty hard, and they're pretty tanky. So, very much the backbone of the Protoss army in most situations. Another base up here for our friend at Pure. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 bases. And Jaedong is just now taking his 5th. So he's allowed Pure to catch up a little bit here. Might consider expanding there as well for the double expand, but spending his money pretty well. I don't think that's going to happen. All right, Lings, where you at? Lings trying to do a bit of a run by here. There are a ton of cannons, though. These Lings have +1/+1, but so what? I mean, honestly, against that many cannons, you're not going to do very well at all. Dragoons trying to hit some stuff, and the Lings suicide themselves onto the Zealots, who are great. They are so good against Zerglings, as you may have been able to guess. The Kakaru flying above here. Caw, caw. Can I make it caw? I cannot make it caw. That's disappointing. I think you can if you're playing, though. You can make the critters explode if you click them enough. A lot of Overlords here. These guys, I forget. Do they have transport? Or they have to upgrade that one. I don't know why they're all over here if they're not dropping. Maybe they're hiding. That could be it. Could be a hiding type situation. Another cannon on the way. Again, I think static defense is a little bit better in Brood War than it is in StarCraft 2. Some Lings coming in again, getting massacred against this composition from Pure. And coming from the bottom side are some Hydras. They don't want to stand in and fight either. They want to lure everybody into the Lurkers. Can they take down? Hey, they do. They take down one of the Templar. Quick Storm gets off. Doesn't really do too much damage whatsoever. And I think at this point, Pure might just, I don't know if you want to go for it, man. There are a lot of Lings and a lot of Hydras here. Another Templar going to die. Gets a Storm off, though. And he survives. No, he does die. He does get killed. A lot of dead Hydras, though. Those Storms are good. These Dragoons are good. +1 attack completed on these guys, but +1/+1 on the Hydras. Bit of a Ling. Again, Ling suicide attempt here out of Jaedong. I think they took down a Zealot, which is not the greatest in the whole world. 133 to 152 total supply. Pure looking good. Looking really good right now. The Scourge hanging out over the Lurkers, and Pure just doesn't want to engage, which I can't disagree with him on. Engaging with Lurkers is just a bad idea if you have a lot of Zealots, because they do so much damage. Does it actually say 20 damage? I don't think there's like an extra damage versus light thing here, at least nothing on the tooltip, although I remember unofficially there's some stuff like that. It just doesn't show you in the game. All right, moving in, the Lurkers, the Lings, the Hydras, and trying to catch these units. Storms on top of a lot of the Lings here, killing a bunch of Hydras too, but this is a lot of dead Templars. So many Zerglings, so many Hydras continuing to push through here. The Lurkers just don't care. Where are they going? They're walking right past these units. There's so much Storm, but the Lings on top of everything as well. Lurkers burrowing on in. So many Templar dead. That is so many resources lost for Pure right now. He is retreating fully now. No Templar available. He just has Zealots. He just has Dragoons, which are not great against this Ling Hydra composition here. Continuing to push in, a bunch of army coming down this way too for Jaedong. And he does manage to burrow his Lurkers. They will make quick work of buildings, especially with the upgrades that they have. This base in a ton of trouble here. But getting rid of the Lurkers there, thanks to the assistance and the vision of that Photon Cannon. Storm's clearing most of the stuff out. Some Lurkers are available here. Hydras versus Zealots. If there's not micro involved, Zealots are not bad. Not bad in this situation. Lurkers continuing to just try to bait Zealots. Bait Zealots up this ramp. And they managed to pull it off just a little bit. So, what do we got over here? We've got Creep Colony, likely going to be for static defense. And this is going to be some Ling drop action. All right, here we go. Jaedong sneaking on in with his Lings, trying to get inside this main base. Cannon ineffectually firing on these overlords. And is the army going to respond? They're starting to respond here, but the storms! The storms on the Defilers throwing down, what is it, Dark Cloud? Crap, I can't remember what it's called. Dark Swarm. Dark Swarm here, just meaning that the Lings cannot be attacked by anything ranged as long as they stay underneath these clouds, but the storms were beautiful. Meanwhile, huge attack with Lings, with Hydras. The Zealots holding on. A Dark Archon, actually. Dark Archon can, what does it do? Maelstrom? I believe it's Maelstrom. It's basically like Storm. They also have mind control, but they can mind control units, including workers. An actual Archon here, though, with +2 attack. And actually gonna take out the Ling. There we go. Gets the Lings. Gets another one. Oh, no! The Ling takes it out first and is still alive. I believe he has adrenal glands. He's hitting pretty fast. I remember that being the case. Big old storms on there as well. Lot of dead. Lot of dead Hydras. Storm there on top of a Lurker, knowing where it is. Can't quite pull it off, though. Hydralisk with 1 kill as well. A lot more Lings trying to sneak on in. And I don't... Is there still a Ling down here doing stuff? There was. That Ling that killed the Archon was still alive, but unfortunately now is utterly and completely dead. So we got some almost dead photon cannons in here, bleeding that blue stuff. That Zerg units bleed. A Lurker on the high ground with 1 kill. Can't actually hit this mineral line, which is a bit of a problem. It looks like Jaedong's trying to sneak on up this way with the Defilers. Again, Zerg spellcasters doing their, is it Dark Swarm? Red Swarm? I think it's just Dark Swarm. Basically what it means is anything underneath the swarm cannot be hit by ranged units, even if they're standing right next to them. So it's pretty good stuff. It's basically an upgraded version, as the Archon morphs in here, an upgraded version of Blinding Cloud. Anyway, coming right on in, Lings, Infestors, exactly. You throw down the clouds on top of these cannons. They are useless against these Lings, although this one can still get these Lings because they're not under the cloud. Oh no! Defilers getting destroyed here as well. Finally getting most of the stuff under the cloud. Oh, it's Reavers. It's Reaver time. Woo! Absolutely going to town on these Hydras, just crushing them. You notice these Scarabs being built. I think it costs about 20 minerals per. A counterattack being planned here by Pure. It's 159 to 181 total supply. Hatchery, is he going to cancel it? No! But an Ultra does pop out here and trying to deal with these Zealots. To save the hatch, cannot do it. All the Zealots will die, but a hatch was lost in the process. Meanwhile, this one is still mining very happily. Indeed, throw so many cannons coming up here for our friend Pure. And actually, the mining... Where the heck? I guess you have to mine all the way down here. So been some long distance mining there as well. Here comes Jaedong. Ling Ultra on top of this base. So many Ultralisks. Whoa! Alright, so they're taking down a Nexus. They're going after Zealots. They're dealing with pylons here. Templar getting destroyed. Storm does almost nothing to Ultralisks. This Dark Archon running around desperately. Doesn't really have an attack. It's just a caster. And I think that's going to be it for Pure. This base is gone. I don't know what to do against these Ultras, and that's it. It looks like Pure has left the game, and Jaedong is your victor here at 18 minutes, and 53 seconds. Wow, that was a good one. That was a good one, you guys. Great display of a lot of the Zerg units. We saw Ultras, Lings, we saw Hydralisks, and Lurkers, and Infestors. Not Infestors. Defilers. Was I calling them Infestors? Defilers is what those casters were. We saw Reavers, and Dark Archons, and regular Archons, and Corsairs. That was a good exhibition of what Brood War has to offer here. So great back and forth. I felt like Jaedong was in a bit of trouble there, and then he just popped about 16 Ultras and ended the game. So Nice job about what we'd expect here from Jaedong, and that's going to be it from me. So this has been Falcon Paladin with yet another weekly edition of StarCraft Brood War. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe if you like what you saw and what you heard today. You can also catch me on Twitter and Facebook and Patreon. If you check me out at /FalconPaladin, you can follow me on those social networks and also donate monthly to my channel. I'd appreciate any support you can give me, even $1 a month. It's very, very appreciated. There's a link in the description, and I'll probably put a link in the top right here as well. So yeah, that's about it. Again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, as always, thank you so much for being here, and you take care of yourself.